The Caspian Sea is the largest inland body of water on Earth. It is an endorheic basin, meaning it is a closed system with no natural outflows to the world's oceans. It covers a surface area roughly the size of Japan and is bordered by 5 nations: Russia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Iran, and Azerbaijan. Looking at its western shores, you see a region of immense coastal wealth. In Azerbaijan's capital, Baku, a massive waterfront promenade sits adjacent to luxury high-rises and modern architectural displays. But further out from the shore, the landscape shifts to heavy industry. A vast network of offshore platforms and pipelines stretches across the water to extract the massive deposits of oil and gas hidden beneath the seabed. For most of the 20th century, control of these resources was split between only 2 powers, the Soviet Union and Iran. When the USSR dissolved in 1991, 4 new independent states inherited the coastline, and all 5 nations claimed a stake in what are now the world's 4th largest gas reserves. Exploiting those reserves immediately stalled because of a gap in international law. The Caspian does not meet the formal criteria for a lake, and it is not recognized as a sea. The collapse of the Soviet Union turned a simple geographical classification into a geopolitical instrument. Ownership of the basin became the subject of a decades-long standoff that prevented any single nation from fully controlling the wealth of the seabed. If the Caspian is classified as a sea, it falls under the jurisdiction of UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. UNCLOS is an international treaty that establishes how nations manage the world's oceans. Under these rules, water is divided into economic zones proportional to a nation's coastline, a system that grants the largest share to countries like Kazakhstan. However, if the Caspian is defined as a border lake, it follows lacustrine law. These rules dictate that the basin and every resource within it must be shared equally among all 5 bordering nations, regardless of their coastline length. In 2018, the leaders of all 5 nations met to sign the Convention on the Legal Status of the Caspian Sea. They reached a compromise by creating a new, unique category, officially designating the Caspian as a stipulated body of water. The treaty granted each nation 15 nautical miles of territorial water and an additional 10 miles of exclusive fishing rights. Everything beyond that limit was designated as common water for all 5 states to navigate. This designation resolved the disputes over surface navigation and fishing rights, but it deliberately left the ownership of the resource-rich seabed undefined, subject to future bilateral agreements. This ambiguity over the seabed allows nations to control the fate of a major infrastructure project, the Trans-Caspian Pipeline. Europe views this pipeline as a way to reduce its reliance on Russian gas. The project is designed to transport Turkmenistan's vast gas reserves directly across the seabed to Azerbaijan, and from there to European markets, bypassing Russian territory completely. Russia and Iran have historically opposed the pipeline. Because the legal status of the seabed is not settled, they can use their rights as literal states to block construction, frequently citing environmental safety as the basis for their veto. The 30-year debate over whether the Caspian was a lake or a sea served a specific strategic purpose. It created a legal impasse that allowed major regional powers to protect their energy monopolies and prevent competition from reaching the West. While the regional powers debated legal definitions, the physical basin began to change. The Caspian's coastlines are rapidly receding, leaving behind thousands of square kilometers of dry, cracked earth where there was once water. This graph shows the rate of decline. The water level is dropping by 7 centimeters every year. Scientists project that by the end of the century, the Caspian will lose 18 meters of depth, reducing its total surface area by 37%. Rising temperatures are accelerating evaporation, but the water that remains is becoming increasingly saturated with pollutants. The basin is a sink for industrial heavy metals, agricultural chemicals, and legacy nuclear waste, which do not wash away because there is no outflow to the ocean. Meanwhile, the river that provides because the littoral states focused on the legal ownership of the seabed rather than its preservation, they are on track to inherit a vast, toxic desert of salt and industrial waste where the world's largest lake once stood.